My spirituality helps me protect my sensitivity. I think
Mm,
for a long time, I looked at my sensitivity as something that had to be managed. Um, but I feel as a result of my spiritual practices, I'm able to care for myself in a lot deeper, a lot more meaningful way. So
Welcome to Sensitive Stories. This episode is for educational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for treatment with a mental health or medical professional. Let's dive in. Well, Tiffany, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today.
thank you so much, April. I am really excited to be here today.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm wondering if you could start off by sharing your HSP discovery story.
Yeah, like I think like most HSPs,
Mm-hmm.
we knew we were sensitive at an early age. Like I definitely knew it in childhood, but I didn't have the words or language to really describe what it was that I was feeling. And
Yeah.
then flash forward 30 plus years, and I'm working a really stressful job, and I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm not taking care of my sensitivity. And I ended up burning out. I ended up
Yeah.
catching pneumonia. I had to
Mm.
be hospitalized. And it took me almost 8 months to fully recover from that
Oh.
illness.
Mm-hmm.
And so during that time, I went looking for all the information that I could find about why why that
Yeah.
had happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very traumatic experience, and I wanted to figure out how to not let that happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So, did a lot of research, read a lot of books, and in the course of that 8 months, I saw an interview with Elaine Aron, and she was
Yep.
talking about highly sensitive people. And I was like, is that me? And so I immediately went to her website and I took her quiz and I scored over, I think, 80% at the time, went out and got her book. And it was just so, it was so enlightening. Like I really
Yeah.
felt seen as a result of reading her book and connecting with her story.
Yeah.
And when you are labeled as sensitive, sometimes you internalize some things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had done that. And I also had a lot of sensory issues that I had never heard talked about before, like lights and
Yeah.
sound. Yeah. And,
Yes.
really needing to be comfortable in my physical
Mm-hmm.
environment. So that was the first time I had my emotional sensitivity married with my sensory sensitivity,
Mm.
and that just changed everything for me.
Wow. Yeah. Everything starts to make sense.
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Yeah. And so like as a result of that, I started looking at my life. I started looking at my nervous system. I started looking at the ways I offered self-care for
Mm.
myself a lot differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of folks have that moment, including myself, where there's this wake up call where you hit your limit, your body
Yeah.
starts to shut down. You can't live that non HSP life any longer,
Yeah.
but you don't realize what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that phrase, non-HSP life. I was definitely living that before my
Yeah.
illness. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder, we're going to talk about spirituality today. I wonder if that was part of it for you. Did you discover that then? Was it, and we'll get more into, I know, but just curious at this point. Was that part of your 8 months or was that already in place before?
That was already in place
Mm,
before. Like
beautiful.
I think my first introduction was to spirituality was church. My mom
Yes.
would take my sister and I to church and,
Yeah.
Bible school. And, I sang in the choir, all these songs about
Mm-hmm.
this awesome, amazing, amazing God, this divine energy. And in the
Yeah.
church where I was raised, a Protestant church, I was taught that I could have a relationship, a personal relationship with this
Yes.
God. And so I think that's where the seed was planted. And from
Mm.
there, I just did all sorts of exploration, reading about, Greek mythology and
Yeah.
Egyptian, gods. Like I wanted to know more and more
Yes.
and more. And that, I think following that path led me to actually go back to graduate school to get my
Mm.
degree in divinity because I wanted to understand this
Hmm.
God, this divine energy. I wanted to have a relationship. After my illness, I would say that that is when I really started to focus on my spiritual practices as a
Mm-hmm.
form of self-care. But I think the seed was planted for me in
Yeah.
childhood. Yeah.
Yes, I think so many HSPs are seekers, whether it be
Yeah.
religion or spirituality.
Yeah.
And it seems like I love it. You've been such an explorer of all the
Yeah.
different pieces.
Yeah.
And for folks who aren't quite sure, could you define what spirituality is? Is it just religion? Is there other
Yeah.
pieces to it?
Yeah. It is not just religion. And I want to say this before I provide my definition is
Please.
that um, spirituality is a topic that means so many different things to so many different
Hmm.
people. And there are, some people who are confused by it, who are not aligned with spirituality as a belief and a concept. But I will say that the majority of us are, and I have proof. There
Yeah.
was a study that was conducted by the Pew Research Center
Mm-hmm.
in 2003. It was the first time they had ever studied spirituality in the United States. And
Wow.
what they found was that 70% of US adults
Hmm.
um, believe that they are spiritual on some level.
Yes.
70%.
Yes.
Yeah, and also like 83% of US adults believe that we have a soul or spirit in
Mm.
addition to our physical bodies.
Wow. That's a high number.
That is a very high number. I was so shocked
Yes.
when I saw it. So the definition of spirituality that I use is something that provides meaning and purpose in your
Mm.
life,
Yes.
that connects you with some energy, some entity that feels greater than you.
Yes.
And that can be God, that can be divine
Mm-hmm.
energy, that could be nature, that could
Mm-hmm.
be the world. It really the only criteria is that it makes you feel connected to something bigger, even
Mm.
humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the definition I use.
It makes sense given that definition that so many of us, I think it's almost an essential part of being human is to find some deeper connection with something,
Absolutely.
right? The meaning, the purpose, that's so essential for me. And I know even a lot of non-HSPs that I know,
Yeah.
we need that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is grounding. It's a form
Mm-hmm.
of connection, and it gives our everyday lives a certain amount of purpose.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
the substance of life.
absolutely.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
really appreciate your saying you can find that in so many different ways depending on what works for you.
Yep,
Doesn't have to
absolutely.
be, it might be God, it might be nature. There's so many versions of that. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's beautiful.
yeah. I have worked with people who consider themselves to be atheists or
Mm-hmm.
agnostic, and spirituality, immediately, I'm not going to say immediately, but causes them sometimes to have pause. But when
Yeah.
framed in this way, you can connect
Yeah.
with humanity, you can connect with the world, you
Mm-hmm.
can connect with nature. That just opens a whole world for them to
Yeah.
to have this meaning and purpose in their lives.
I love that. If we expand the definition, we get to bring more people in.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really great.
Yeah.
And as a sensitive person, because I think of sensitive people as very spiritually oriented, for you personally, how does your spirituality align with your sensitivity? Do you see any connection points there?
Yeah, I think um, my spirituality helps me protect my sensitivity. I think
Mm,
for a long time, I looked at my sensitivity as something that had to be managed. Um, But I feel as a result of my spiritual practices, I'm able to care for myself in a lot deeper, a lot more meaningful way. So that is how I frame it, and that is a relationship that I use on a daily basis when I am engaging in
Mhm.
my spiritual practice.
And that just hit me at a really deep level.
It did.
I mean, spirituality protects sensitivity. It just feels so true. Like this, I don't know what it is, but like this buffer, this blanket,
Yeah,
this shield, right? Because
absolutely.
you were talking earlier about sensory sensitivity, emotional sensitivity, and yeah, spirituality for me just quiets everything. Right back to the
Absolutely.
essence.
Absolutely. It
Mm-hmm.
really helps me stay grounded. It really helps me manage my time and energy better. And I have a an added incentive is that I don't want to experience burnout again.
Yes.
So yeah, spirituality and my spiritual practice are really important.
So
Yeah,
we could even maybe say it buffers against burnout or
absolutely.
part of that puzzle or
Absolutely.
that toolkit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so true.
Yeah.
So that's one of the benefits. If we're connected to our spiritual practice, we can kind of guard our sensitivity, protect it, hopefully not lead down the path to burnout and overwhelm and all the things that are hard about being sensitive. Maybe get to access the beautiful parts of sensitivity, the joy, the bliss, the awe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, spirituality has really helped me reframe it.
Mm-hmm.
Spirituality has helped me see my sensitivity as a gift and help nurture and helped
Mm-hmm.
open myself to seeing different dimensions of that gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It brings more nuance to it.
Ab- yes.
Right?
Yes. That is a good word. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sensitive. I think about this a lot, how a lot of times the gifts of our sensitivity, they get pushed aside, maybe not recognized. They're all around us, how we show up for others, how we experience the world, how we can notice little details and the joy of that. But those things get pushed aside. But this could help bring it more to the surface potentially, um, tap into those deeper feelings and the
Yeah.
purpose, the meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering what are some of the other benefits we might see when we develop a spiritual practice? Are
Yeah.
there things that we haven't talked about?
I have a whole list for you.
Oh, I love this.
Whole list for you, April.
Please.
Yeah, one of the biggest ones that I've seen from myself and my work with clients is nervous system
Mm.
regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times we as HSPs, like we're prone to emotional and sensory overstimulation. And what a spiritual practice does, especially like something like meditation, prayer, breath work, it helps calm and regulate the nervous system. So that is a big one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
huge one, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm a somatic therapist. I'm trained in somatic experiencing. And so like I really to my clients who are open to it, I really support them in developing a spiritual practice in order to help, manage the daily stressors that we all
Mm-hmm.
experience, I feel like more and more these days.
And this is exciting for me because we often see regulation practice now. They're everywhere at this point, all over
Yeah.
Instagram and everywhere. Um, they almost seem so functional, kind of empty in a way. Like
Yeah.
do this to feel like this and get on with your
Yep.
life.
Yeah.
Um, but we can fold in a deeper experience around these practices. Because I think
Yeah.
about for myself, I like my yoga practice, for instance. It's not just a physical practice, it is a spiritual practice. It's very
Yep.
sacred to me. I've done it for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Same with my regulation practices. There's a mindfulness element. It's not just me calming overwhelm or anxiety.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
reconnecting
yeah.
with myself and
Yes.
there's an energy, there's something beyond me that
Yep,
happens.
yep,
And I
yep.
don't know that I've ever heard anyone talk about that overlap before
Yeah.
between
It
the
it
two.
yeah, it is definitely there for people who
Mm-mm.
are seeking it. And I feel like, I describe it as because a lot of people when they're starting a spiritual practice are just like, how is it working? Like, am I
Right.
how can I tell? How can I tell if I'm receiving the benefit?
Yeah.
And nervous system regulation is one that you can almost experience immediately. And what I
Mm.
tell my clients is after you engage in whatever practice you have chosen, if you feel a little bit calmer, if you feel like you just had a nice, drink of water or a nice, you can do a nice sigh,
Yeah.
it's working.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. If
Yeah.
something starts to soften.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
often talking with my wife about this because she's like, "How do you know it's working?"
Yes.
She'll often ask
Yes.
me that. Or she's like,
Yes.
I'm like, "Oh, I just felt my nervous system relax." She's like, "How do you know?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
And
"Well, it is. It's just like a oh, an exhale."
yeah. And sometimes that's really hard to describe, but once you feel it, you understand it.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But that's a
Yeah.
great question, though. How do I know it's working?
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
is well, it depends on what your spiritual practice is.
Mm.
But what I have found is that the biggest way to tell if it's working is when you show up differently.
Mm.
Like immediately you can have that sense of like, deep breath, like, that
Right.
is very cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
But on a more significant basis, like if
Mm.
you can say, like, normally I would have been at a level of 9 activation in this circumstance, but I showed up and I was a 6. Like to me, that is a big indicator that something positive is happening.
Ooh, I love this.
Yes.
It's like there's
Yeah.
these ripples that go out.
Yeah. And sometimes when you change, you don't have a conscious understanding that you have changed until you're in a similar situation and you show up differently, you react and respond differently.
Mm. It's so
Yeah.
true. I always wished I could sit next to myself 5 years ago and see the difference. Well, we
Yeah.
can't do that,
Yeah.
but we
Yeah.
can. So it might not be immediate, but when you're in that a similar situation again, maybe at work or in a relationship or with a certain person, like, oh, I'm different.
Yeah,
Something's
absolutely.
changed.
Absolutely. And that is definitely growth and a spiritual practice can definitely help in helping
Mm-hmm.
to, facilitate that growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we could get, so for folks who maybe aren't, they haven't embodied this experience yet, they haven't seen themselves show up differently, or maybe haven't tracked it. Maybe they have, they just haven't taken that in. What could be an example? Is it I'm maybe less irritable with someone, or um, I have more tolerance for someone who's pushing my boundaries? I'm curious
Yeah.
if there's something, an example of what one might notice if something's
Yeah.
changed.
Like all of that.
All of it, yeah.
Yes, all of that. And for HSPs, like um we are very conscious of our levels of
Yeah.
activation. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times when working with HSPs, that's the gauge that I use.
Yep.
Like, sometimes, the clients, my HSP clients will say, like, I was so dysregulated, I couldn't speak, like, I couldn't even like figure out what to say in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so if a client can find themselves in a similar situation with a supervisor, a friend, or
Yep.
a partner, and they could say, like, I was able to stay grounded. I was able to
Yep.
hear what was being communicated to me. I was able
Mm-hmm.
to respond. So a lot of times my baseline is level of activation.
It's so true. If you can find your words in the moments,
Yeah.
if you are in the room,
Yeah.
that's a big change.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge change because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the overwhelm gets to be too much, whether it's emotional or sensory, and we don't know what really is happening.
Exactly. We can, yeah, we
Yeah.
kind of, well, I think out of self-protection, just start to maybe check out of the
Yep.
situation.
Yep.
And our nervous systems are trying to manage the everything that's coming at us, especially if we're coming in already activated. And
Yeah.
then that's just overflowing. So
Yep.
that could be a huge sign. We have a
Yes.
little bit more capacity. A little
Yes.
bit more
Yes.
presence. Yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
more ability to stay in the moment and yeah, actually say what you want to say.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
And another benefit, April, that I wanted to
Hmm.
talk to you about
Please.
is, boundary strengthening.
Mm.
Like, a lot of times we as HSPs, like we are overwhelmed by other people's emotions.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can't tell where someone else's emotions end and ours begin.
Yeah.
So spiritual exercises like, grounding and energy work, they can help us build up that boundary to have an increased level of discernment.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
true. You can start to see where you start and the other person begins.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's true
Absolutely.
because the more, I'll speak for myself, the more dysregulated I am, my boundaries become a lot more porous and it's dangerous.
Yeah. It's dangerous. I love that. Yeah, it can be, definitely. Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So you have more ability to discern, to set those boundaries, those limits with people.
Yep.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And I wonder too, I feel like there's something deeper even there. Maybe understanding why it's so important or more self-preservation. I'm not sure. Like I would maybe see what I'm protecting. My own
Yeah.
energy, my peace, whatever it is. I'm not sure. There's something there. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Like, and maybe that's just like, and maybe that leads a little bit into, another benefit that I wanted to talk about, which
Please.
is having self-compassion. And
Yes.
this one was
Yes.
a big one for
Yeah.
me.
Hmm.
And, like you were touching on before, sometimes when you are overwhelmed by someone else's emotions, setting that boundary can be an act of self-compassion. Like, I am going to do this because I have value, I have worth, I am like protecting this gift. So it's
Mm.
more like a incentive to engage in
Yeah.
setting these boundaries.
Right when you
Yeah.
start to recognize the value you bring or that you inherently have.
Yeah. Yeah, because most of, I'm not going to say most, because a
Yeah.
lot of us were told we're too sensitive,
Yep.
we're too much. And
Yep.
so it is a big deal to get to the point where you can say, I am enough and it is fine. And I have this difference and I am going to, look at it as a gift, and maybe a spiritual practice can, support me in shifting some of these views that I have
Hmm.
that no longer serve me to the same degree as before. I'm going to say that they probably didn't, serve you at all, but some of us
Right.
believe that those beliefs served us at on
True.
some level. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So this seems like another layer of spirituality protecting sensitivity in the sense of that our sensitivity has inherent value.
Yeah.
We can feel worthy as a
Yep.
sensitive person.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that makes sense. So I wonder if this is a belief that you have that, we are divine beings, that
Yep.
there is maybe a God, but there's also a God in us, that
Yep.
and if we can see ourselves with that view, we can understand that our sensitivity maybe has a deeper purpose that is
Absolutely.
sacred just as inherently, and we don't have to try to squash that in ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we have a piece of God within us, like,
Hmm.
and as, beings with spirits and souls and our own
Hmm.
level of divinity, we are created in God's image with a purpose here on this planet at this
Yeah.
time. And all of that can be enhanced with a spiritual practice.
And we can
Yeah.
start to treat that with grace, with care,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
respect. Yeah,
Yeah.
just as we
Yeah.
would something else we're looking to, whether it be God or um, energy or the universe, whatever words you want to put to it.
Yep.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
send that back.
Yes.
Yeah, to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Yeah.
we we spend so much energy a lot of time caring for others and being present for
Hmm.
others and being a support.
Yeah,
This is an opportunity for us to support ourselves.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
through setting boundaries, through compassion,
yep. Yep.
through nurturing our nervous systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love reframing all of these practices as sacred practices. That feels
Yep.
really special to me.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I think they definitely I think
Hmm.
they definitely are.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we start talking about maybe how to pull in spiritual practices into our lives outside of these, I'm wondering, was there any other benefits that you wanted to touch on that you felt were important?
Yeah, like I think connection and belonging. Like a
Hmm.
lot of times we feel as HSPs kind of isolated in terms
Yeah.
of our sensitivity to the experiences in our lives, experiences of people in our lives. And, whether it is, engaging in a spiritual practice with others, like in going to church or,
Hmm.
meditation or yoga, it's a it's a way to have a greater sense of connection with others.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of times that can be helpful for us as HSPs who sometimes maybe feel a little bit more isolated than
Yeah.
other people. So
Hmm.
connection and belonging is a big one. And the last one I want to share is greater creativity and
Hmm.
intuition. Like we by nature have a tendency to be, very
Yes.
creative, and a spiritual practice can sometimes enhance our openness, our ability to be reflective, which benefits our level of creativity.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. It opens up those channels within us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go back to the belonging and make sure not to skip over that because I think about a lot of HSPs who I work with, who I've talked to, who feel pretty isolated.
Yeah.
And even if there are opportunities for connection, that may not be the types of connection that nourish them.
Yeah.
And I think about spiritual spaces, whether it's church, whether it's a meditation hall, a Buddhist meditation circle, whatever it is, where there's those communities that are joining around something deeper.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just superficial socializing, which that can be fun sometimes, but
Yeah.
I think for HSPs, we yearn for that depth of connection, which spiritual, religious spaces can provide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
I agree.
yeah.
It kind of like by its nature, it kind of
Hmm.
supercharges the
Hmm.
level of belongingness that could be possible in those
Yeah.
spaces. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. There's something very strong bringing you all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't go to church, but I've always had a yearning to have a space like that.
Yeah.
And not growing up religious, but have great reverence for it because it is a beautiful way to bring people together and to tap into something beyond yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we need more than ever.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree, April.
yeah.
Especially with, some of the turbulence that
Mm-hmm.
is going on in the world.
Yeah.
The more spaces we have like that, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, the more safe, deeply connected spaces
Yeah.
where people can just join in real time, in real life. Yeah, really important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's say someone is listening and they're either curious to develop a spiritual practice or maybe they want to return to one that they've disconnected from.
Yeah.
How might they start to do that?
Yeah. I think the beauty is that a spiritual practice can be almost anything.
Yeah.
And the challenge is that a spiritual practice can be almost anything.
Yeah, it's both.
So it really depends on the individual, but there are three keys that I use when I'm supporting a client in developing a spiritual practice that is going to be effective for them.
Okay.
And the first one we mentioned before is it helps you connect with something that feels greater than yourself. That is probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Um, the second one is this is a practice, and so there has to be some level of frequency that is
Mm,
involved. There has to be accessibility there. It has to be
yeah.
something that can be easily repeated. Like
Mm,
you might love like climbing mountains, but if that
right.
is something you can only do once a year, I don't
Right.
know if that would be, I don't think it would meet my idea as a spiritual practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing is something that allows contemplation and personal
Mm,
reflection. It is fine if you want to engage in a spiritual practice with other people, but the goal is for you to have your own unique experience
mm,
within the group. So
yeah.
those are the three keys that I use.
Right. It sounds like finding a practice that can be sustainable, that you can connect with daily or
Yeah.
weekly at least.
Yeah, yeah, daily, weekly. Some clients I've had who are just like, all right, I'm gonna start off slow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do, bi-weekly, once every 2 weeks. I'm like, I'll
Hmm.
take it.
That's it. Yeah. Start where you can.
Absolutely. And I do want to, reference that Pew Research
Hmm.
study because they listed some of the practices, spiritual practice that are the most common, and they include
Oh.
meditation,
Hmm.
yoga, exercise, and being in nature. So if all
Mm.
else fails, you can begin with one of those in order to like jumpstart finding a spiritual practice that works for you.
Mm. So you could potentially take something you're already doing
Yeah,
and bring a spiritual intention to it, would you say?
absolutely. Yeah, like
Hmm.
like a spiritual practice, and maybe like when we use the definition that I presented,
Hmm.
people can say to themselves, huh, maybe that was a spiritual practice that I had,
Right.
then I didn't even realize it.
Yes.
I know some people, their spiritual practice is walking,
Hmm.
some it's painting, some it's writing, some it's tarot.
Yeah.
Some it's like other types of, movement like
Hmm.
Tai Chi. It
Hmm.
can be almost anything as long as it meets
Yes.
those keys that I outlined.
Yes. Wow. So many opportunities.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just what can you show up to? What works for your life?
Yes. And as an example, I have three spiritual practices. Um, um, my first one is gardening.
Oh,
Like
yes.
I love being in the garden. I love planting a seed and, watching it grow and, potentially be harvested at some point in the near future. It just connects me to the rhythm of life, the
Mm,
seasons. And that is very life-giving for
mm,
me. I also engage in meditation. I meditate daily, and that allows me to connect with divine energy, which is very grounding for me. And then the third one is, I have an ancestor shrine in my
mm,
home.
mm-hmm.
And it just being present, me, seeing it on a daily basis, me refreshing it with water and flowers. It just reminds me of every person who has ever lived that is responsible for me being here. Like some names, I know like my grandparents and great grandparents, some I will never know. And that
Yeah.
just provides me with a greater sense of purpose.
Mm, yeah, just connecting into that lineage, those roots that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I also have an altar, and there is something about being able to see it every day, to interact, to engage with it, and
Yeah.
having photos is it's really powerful. It's like, oh, here's where I came from.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great way to you extend beyond yourself, and also I appreciate these examples of, oh, this is how you can do it in a very tangible way.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a physical experience, but it's also a very spiritual, energetic experience,
Yep.
emotional
Yep.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love all the options,
Yeah.
and being able to see, oh, I bet there's spirituality already happening for most people.
Yeah, knowing now that 70% of US adults the
Exactly.
spiritual. I would say that is very likely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm curious. I I can see the direct connection with having an altar, with getting into nature, with going to church, with being in the garden. Let's say something like exercise or walking. How can we bring a spiritual intention to something like that, which may
Yeah.
be purely physical in a certain
Yeah.
level? Do you
Yeah.
have any ideas about that?
Yeah. I will say that I feel like you're probably more likely to have a deeper
Mm,
spiritual experience being outside when you're engaging in this activity.
yeah.
But I know some people who walking is their spiritual practice, and it's a process of moving their bodies and feeling connected to their bodies.
Mm,
It's a process of being present to, the neighbor who is getting the mail and
yeah.
the dog, who is, sniffing the grass, and
Mm,
all of that involves connection with nature, connection with
mm.
humanity. So those are the things that can really infuse an experience like exercise to make it feel more spiritual and meaningful.
Right. It doesn't have to be a perfect container.
Right. Yeah.
That's refreshing to hear because I think a lot of times we feel like, oh, I have to have this perfectly quiet, no interruptions experience.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
could have a spiritual experience in the world, in your
Absolutely.
life.
Absolutely. And I know a
Yeah.
lot of people where that type of experience is more meaningful
Hmm.
for them.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know?
why do you think that is? There's a
Um,
connection point or?
Yeah, I think it's connection. I
Yeah.
think for HSPs especially, sometimes it's like being in the world on your own terms and not being bombarded by
Yeah.
it,
Hmm.
I feel. But I think it's a mix of
Hmm.
those things.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Because
Yeah.
there's something about having those little shared moments, and the neighbor might just be grabbing the mail, but I'm am bringing them into my spiritual experience because I'm in the garden out
Yeah.
front planting flowers.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty
Absolutely.
special.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Well, Tiffany, I'm wondering if there's any final thoughts you want to share for HSPs who are reconnecting with their spirituality, who are
Yeah.
feeling inspired by this conversation.
Yeah. I want to encourage HSPs to try it, or
Yes.
maybe recognize the spiritual practices that they already have in their lives and being a little bit more intentional about
Mm,
those. Like this does not have to be super intimidating. Like I said before, it can be almost anything that works for an individual and their life. And I
mm,
think, by engaging in a practice, they will see some real tangible benefits in their lives.
hmm.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you've done such a great job of outlining all the ways that spirituality can infuse our lives. It can bring
Yeah.
not just more depth and meaning, but also like more connection to self and
Yep.
potentially more connection to community.
Yep.
It just feels
Yep.
like a center point of life.
Yes.
Everything else
Yes.
stems from. Yeah,
Yeah.
such an important piece to nurture in
Yep.
ourselves. And as
Hmm.
HSPs, I always like to remind people we will soak that up like a sponge. We will feel that so much more deeply. And why miss it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If there's something that, could possibly enhance our life, our experiences in the world, you know, give it a go, give it a try.
Yeah, give it a go. And
Yes. Yeah.
exactly. And then feeling into those sensitive gifts of intuition, creativity, empathy. I really see spirituality fueling those as
Yeah.
you shared. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
Well, Tiffany, this has been a wonderful conversation. Like I shared, I'm so excited about this topic, and I think it's one that's so important for our community. And I want to make sure folks can connect with you, so I will share all of your resources in the show notes, your website, your social
Right,
media. I know you offer therapy and coaching, both.
right,
Could you
right.
share a little bit more about those services for folks?
Yeah, my practice is based out of Chicago, and I provide online therapy for women, BIPOC, and queer professionals
Hmm.
in Illinois and Missouri, and addressing anxiety, burnout, and depression
Excellent.
symptoms. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, in my coaching program, my coaching is called A minus wellness, and I call it that because I was very much a type A personality before my burnout experience, and now I am proudly type A minus.
I love this.
Yeah, so what I do is I support clients across the country who have achieved a certain level of, perceived outward success,
Mm,
but it's come potentially at the expense of their overall health and well-being.
yeah.
So what I do is I work with them, many of them who are highly sensitive, in order to assess what's going on, to provide some guidance, and then, reframe what success really looks like for
Yeah.
them. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that is my coaching program.
I love that. So folks who maybe have are hitting that limit, who maybe are approaching or have gone through a burnout, want to
Yeah.
maybe reconfigure some
Yep.
parts of their life, find some more
Absolutely.
balance,
Yeah.
you are the person that can support them.
Yes, I am that person.
I love it. Well, Tiffany, thank you again so much. This has been a joy.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, April. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.